What's up guys, and welcome back to another Pokemon Diamond and Pearl Remakes speculation video covering Sinnohan Forms. So we're going to carry on rolling through Gen 2 possible forms, thinking about ideas and just throwing around. Again, as always, well, last two episodes at least, we're looking at artwork from a cool Pikachu 29, I believe it is. As always, the link will be down below in the description to their DeviantArt so you can see more of their work. But we're going to jump in, and the first Pokemon we have today is Sudowoodo, yes. So obviously you can see by these designs, the first thing that might come to mind when you think about variants of Sudowoodo are different types of trees, you know. Obviously you see here we have a birch tree, we have what looks to be a spruce tree or maybe a jungle tree at the top right, darker tree with some, decoration there at the bottom left, and then bamboo at the bottom right. All very interesting ideas. However, I think because Sudowoodo is the mimic Pokemon, yeah, it mimics a tree. It's not actually a tree, it mimics it. You could say, yes, okay, these different forms could be mimicking different types of trees, yes, but that doesn't seem to be exactly what they're going for with the regional variants. They're going for completely, off-the-book ideas. So you could have Sudowoodo mimic something that's not a tree, which would be quite interesting. In terms of what it would mimic, I have no idea. It has to be a similar sort of shape and form to normal Sudowoodo. You could have it become, rocky. Basically, it could mimic a rock and become a pure rock type. It's a rock type anyway, isn't it? Damn it. Ground type. You guys know what I mean. It could, change stuff like that, or it could be, as we see here, different variants and differences for trees. However, in this case, you'd have to, mix it up a bit, give it, a proper type change, I suppose. So you could make it mimic a spruce tree, in which case you might be able to give it the ice type if you started it a bit like a Christmas tree, brought some of that fancy stuff in there. As an idea, as a possibility. Bamboo obviously is quite nice. I do quite like the design for it. In terms of other type changes you could go along with that, really not much. It's a pure rock type. You could make it a full tree and give it a grass rock type, or just a grass type for the form, which would be most people's top choice, I suppose you could say, or a lot of people's top choice for sort of a styled version of Sudowoodo, regional variant, to make it an actual tree. And give it a type change to come in line with that, so grass, or as I mentioned, you could have it mimic something else entirely and give it a different type. So what that would be is dependent on the region, of course. In terms of Sinnoh, there's not really too much it could mimic. Maybe you could put it in the marsh, the Great Marsh, and have it mimic marshy trees there, but again, that's not really anything different from a tree, so who knows. If you guys have any ideas yourself, let me know down below. But we move on to the next Pokemon, and that is going to be Politoed. So obviously Politoed is Generation 2 introduced, and evolves from Poliwhirl. So you could do some things, and obviously you could give Poliwrath and maybe Poliwhirl and Poliwag a typed regional variant too, or you could just leave it for Politoed. And if we look at what we have here, there are 4 different designs. We have a nice red and blue spotted one, we have a yellow and black one, we have a paler one basically with a few knocks on it, I suppose you could say, and then a dark green one. Obviously one thing you could do is poisonous frogs are a thing, so you could make a water poison type for a Politoed. I don't think you could lose the water type unless of course the whole line lost the water type in a regional variant, but at least for a Politoed, water poison could be a possibility. You have a nice poisonous frog, and you also have tree frogs, so you could maybe bring in some grass type there. I don't know how well that would go down, water grass, but there are a few different types of frogs. You could bring stuff in there. Obviously water ground, another possibility, although we have Seismitoad, which is more of a toad than a frog, but still very similar, which would make that less likely, but it's still a possibility. In terms of other typings here, yes, okay, the yellow black one maybe could have some electric type built in, but again you need some extra design change for that. Of course the at the top of it, I don't know what you call it, the proboscis and whatever is on top of its head could be changed into some form of lightning bolt out of a flash if it was turned into an electric type. So there are possibilities there and different things you could throw around. In terms of these other designs though, the red and blue one, that just seems like a colourful frog really. I can't really think of any type change for it necessarily. And then looking at the bottom two, the bottom right one would be my stylized idea for a water poison type, since it looks more like a menacing poison frog. And in terms of the bottom left one, that looks very similar to a normal one, just slightly paler, so I'm not sure exactly what changes you would expect to affect there, but who knows. That is going to be it for Politoed though, so if we move on to the next line, we are going to be only looking at Hoppip, of course, Hoppip, and obviously Skiploom and Jumpluff in a second. So obviously all these designs here are keeping the grass in mind, grass flying type consistent. You can see a clover one based on ferns, etc. So just very similar to the default design, except basically just different leaves. And obviously it is Hoppip, it's not like it's a very complicated Pokemon. In terms of what you could do for this line, I don't think, except in terms of particular Hoppip isn't really one you can be that colourful and that playful with, because it's very simple. Maybe when you get onto Skiploom or Jumpluff you can expand a bit more, but generally I think, you know, you're going to have to at least keep the flying type, but maybe you could switch out the leaves on its head for something slightly different. You could, you know, maybe put some fairy wings on there or something very similar, have it to be fairy flying, and link it in like that. But I think, yeah, to give Hoppip a regional variant, you're going to have to take the leaves away and replace them with something else, and you work it like that. Similarly, though, for Skiploom, of course, Skiploom has a flower on its head rather than 2 leaves, so you could still give it a regional variant. You just have to either give it a colourful flower, like you can see here we have some purple and pink flowers, so maybe psychic types, stuff like that, or alternatively you could give it something else other than the flower. So say you gave the first one fairy wings, then this one you give it a fairy flower, something like that. I don't know, guys, fairy flying type, or you could, you know, go crazy and have fire and have it, you know, have a burning flame on top of its head, which would look crazy, and I'm not sure many people would like it, but it would be interesting to see what they would do with it. So I'm not going to spend too much time on Skiploom because it is a fairly simple Pokemon like Hoppip. So if we then look at the final evolution of that line, is Jumpluff. Of course you have a bit more to play with now because it actually has hands of some description. You can see here the top right one actually has thorns across its balls. I guess you can call them balls or tufts or whatever you want to call them. So that could possibly be a grass poison type or a poison flying type if you really made it, you know, really poisonous. The bottom right one looks like it could be related to poison as well, just because of the darker green. That's just the feel I'm getting from it. But in terms of thinking about the other ideas we were talking about, so a fairy type one, of course these balls could be made into fairy, you know, like cheerleader. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head now. You know, so fairy like that, very similar to Slippuff and such. Or you could, you know, give it flames on its hands, which again would look crazy, but it might be interesting to see how they do it. But yeah, again, this line's very simple, there's not much to change on it. You can make them squares rather than circles, but apart from that, not much. So move on then to Apom. So of course we have Ambipom in Sinnoh, so it's unlikely for Apom to get a regional variant in Sinnoh, because that would be crazy, because then okay, you give Ambipom a regional variant too, but that doesn't make any sense because, well, it was introduced in this. Yeah, you guys get the idea. So in terms of how they do it, I don't know, but it's possible. So looking at these designs here, again, they're basically all keeping Apom as a normal type, so there's not a really huge amount you could do with it, just simply because of the lack of design change here. But in terms of what you can actually do with Apom, you can make it a fighting type for a start. It's got that, you know, big hand on the end, big hand on its tail. Maybe make the tail a bit more muscly, and you could possibly work it like that. I don't know. It might look good, or it might look absolutely terrible. In terms of what else you could do, because it's based on a monkey, you could put some grass type stuff in there, who knows. Of course it's just a pure normal type to begin with, so you could, again, normal fighting, you know, just add the fighting type to it, make it a bit more bulky, and stuff like that. And in terms of, yeah, we haven't spoken much about abilities or stats at all, but, you know, obviously if you become a fighting type, Apom will probably be a bit more menacing, and a bit more powerful in that sense. But yeah, in terms of other ideas, I'm fresh out, so if you guys have any, let me know down in the comment section. And then we've gone to the last line for this video, and that's going to be some kind of some flora. So first it was Sunkern. Looking at these designs, obviously there's not many changes again because it's not designed that way. But in terms of what you could actually do with Sunkern, well, in terms of the line, I wouldn't see much happening on Sunkern. I would see it more on some flora. But of course Sunkern could have a regional variant that just changes its colour and maybe take off the leaf. Of course, if you're not being a grass type anymore, you can change up what it has on the top of its head pretty much extensively. So again, it could be flame on, so you know, fire extruding from the top of Sunkern's head rather than a little sprout. So that's one possibility. But if we then look at Sunflora, as I mentioned, that's probably more likely to get a regional variant on its own. Obviously, the first thing that would jump to mind, excluding these flower designs, is give it flames around its head. Boom, that would look amazing, and have it be a grass fire type. But that's just me. So obviously looking at these other designs here, all flower based, of course, because it's a flower, it's a sunflower. So here, of course, Sunflora would then change into, you know, Lilac Flora and stuff like that. So the name wouldn't thematically make much sense anymore, but it would still be pretty interesting to see what they could do with it and, you know, change it around a bit. And of course, I don't think many people would mind if it was, you know, Sunflora. It was originally a sunflower, it's called Sunflora for that reason, and then changed and, you know, grew a different type of flower, and, you know, get the idea there. It would be a huge hit to the lore and the naming conventions of Pokemon. But yeah, in terms of typing for this guy, I've spoken about grass fire already. In terms of, you know, again, purple or pink flower, you could give a grass psychic and give it some form of psychic power, or you could have it move away from being sort of a plant and have it maybe attached to a rock and grow off a rock. Who knows exactly how far they're willing to go with these regional variants. But I'm going to tidy it up there. I think that's enough Sunflora today. These Pokemon, I mean, these images, while very good in quality and very pretty cool, I would love to see actual variants of Pokemon like this in game, but they're not really relating to Alolan forms of Sinnohan forms very well, because of course they don't have any type changes or anything like that. So we'll see where we go next episode, guys. But of course, as always, let me know any thoughts or theories or ideas you have down below in the comment section, and if you enjoyed the video, you can hit the like button if you want. I'm not gonna make you. But this is a bit for me for today, so I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.